This video is brought to you by Captivating History. There is no other ancient culture like the Greeks. Its distinctive style and architecture are easily called to mind by most people today, despite being over 2,000 years old. We still feel Grecian influence in politics, diplomacy, mathematics, medicine, astronomy, and philosophy. So, how is it that Greece emerged as one of the most influential cultures of the ancient world? The Greeks never actually referred to themselves as Greek, and the Romans would first refer to the land of Graecus. Greek natives referred to themselves as Hellenes, living in the region of Hellas. The Greeks give us a legend about their own creation as the Hellens. Hellen was a mythical son of Deucalion and Pyrrha, the sole survivors of a flood in the same vein as the biblical story of Noah. Hellen was considered to be the patriarch of the Hellenic culture and the ancestor of all its people. His sons and grandsons founded the primary tribes of Greece: Aeolus, Doris, Achaeus, and Ionis. Hellen's sisters were Pandora and Thea, both impregnated by Zeus. Pandora gave birth to Graecus of the Grecians. Thea gave birth to Machanos of the Macedones, later called Macedonians. The Grecian tribes were the first to colonize southern Italy, hence why the Romans used Grecian as an umbrella term for all the people of that culture. But before the Hellenes and the Grecians, many more civilizations lived in the area now known as Greece. Humans have inhabited Greece since the Mesolithic period, and early evidence of burials has been found in the Argolid Peninsula that dates from around 7250 BCE. During the Neolithic period, people in the region produced food, built huts, and used boats. Fortifications have been discovered that date from 3400 BCE. A civilization known as the Minoans flourished on the island of Crete from 3000 to 1100 BCE. The Minoans were known for their remarkable cities and palaces, as well as their sophisticated artworks. Delicate frescoes adorned the palace walls, and Minoan artists created elaborate seals and decorated pottery with a distinctive light-on-dark style. The Minoans had a predominantly matriarchal religion, as demonstrated by their murals of elaborately dressed goddesses. The two most predominant images in their art are the snake, a goddess symbol, and the bull. These two images immediately call to mind the Greek myths about Medusa and the Minotaur. The Minotaur even being kept on Crete by King Minos in the Greek legend. Considering the Greek culture would not form for hundreds of years, you can see the Minoans' impact in the region. The Minoan palace culture was destroyed around the middle of the 15th century BCE by invaders from the mainland. The two cultures fused until 1100 BCE, when the economic power of the Minoans all but disappeared. Toward the end of the Bronze Age, mainland Greece was inhabited by the Mycenaeans. These Mycenaean Greeks reflected much of the Minoan culture and were relatively advanced in engineering, architecture, military infrastructure, and writing. Their symbolic script, called Linear B, gives us the first written records of this area, and from it, we know that many deities worshipped in ancient Greece came from this civilization. The Mycenaean economy relied on trade over a wide area of the Mediterranean. In around 1200 BCE, the Mycenaean civilization began to collapse. No one knows for sure the cause of this collapse, but historians suspect it could have been environmental disasters, climate change, or an invasion of the mysterious Sea People who also attacked Egypt at around this time. Whatever the reason, civilization in Greece took a downturn. There was political instability and economic hardship, which led to famine and revolt. Kingdoms were overthrown, and trade relations broke down as the population of Greece halved. The use of the written language stopped altogether, meaning that the only information we have from this time is from archaeological artifacts. Pottery from this period has distinctly less complex designs as previously, which suggests a loss of knowledge and skill. Greek society fragmented, and people started to develop individual cultures that were isolated from each other. This isolation was fostered by the number of islands and the mountainous landscape inland. Due to Greece's natural borders of seascapes and mountains, each village was all but cut off from the next. Perhaps this is why ancient Greece would develop into individual city-states rather than a unified country. Still, this isolation did not stop the spread of iron smelting techniques from spreading through the communities. and they slowly re-established long-distance trade by the start of the 8th century BCE. The pottery started to display more detailed designs again around this time, and Greece began to emerge from the dark into a period of enlightenment. This period in Greek history is called the Archaic period and is known for its technological advances, poetry, and art. The isolated farming villages started to grow, building walls, marketplaces, and meeting areas. As communities grew larger, they developed social structures of government and constitutional laws. The towns became known as city-states, or polis, and they would define Greek politics for hundreds of years. As the Mycenaean script had been lost, the Greeks developed their own alphabet based on the Phoenician alphabet. The earliest evidence of the Greek alphabet comes from graffiti found on pottery around the mid-8th century BCE. Each of the developed polis adopted the protections of a god or goddess. Athena protected Athens. Olympia chose Zeus. Corinth had Poseidon. Though all the polis had a common language, religion, and customs, they were all different. One similarity that ran through all the polis was that they were primarily agricultural rather than having a trade-based economy. Most polis were governed by rich aristocrats who monopolized the best lands and political power. As land was in high demand, families would often travel from the polis where they were born to less densely populated areas. Between 750 BCE and 600 BCE, Greek colonies were started across the Mediterranean. Each of these new colonies set up its own independent and self-sufficient poli. Eventually, the Greeks began to trade goods such as pottery, wine, cloth, and metalwork. This newfound trade made some citizens very wealthy enough to challenge the aristocrats that oversaw the polis and stage hostile takeovers in some cases. Many of these new rulers were just as tyrannical as their predecessors, but a few were progressive and became decent leaders. Phidon of Argos, for example, established a recognized system of weights and measures during his rule from 710 to 670 BCE. These tyrants did not rule for long. Soon, the Greeks came up with a way of assigning power, unlike anywhere in the rest of the world. Instead of fighting or allowing control to be passed down through generations of the same family, they would allow most people to be considered to rule for one term only, and that citizen would be able to decide who led them. Democracy was born. In around 593 BCE, in Athens, the political and economic climate was such that when a politician named Solon came to power, he was given complete control. He set about trying to solve the political problems of the city by designing dictates that were then inscribed on wooden plaques and displayed for all the citizens to read. His first reform was to remove all laws, except those pertaining to homicide. Next, he altered the rules for who could become an administrator, magistrate, or juror, opening the position to any male citizen regardless of rank or class. Solon then created the Council of 400, in which 100 men from the 4 Athenian tribes would come together and guide the big government. As well as governance, Solon had various decrees regarding economy and society. He ordered that if fathers did not find suitable work for their sons, they would be under no obligation to support the fathers in their old age. Solon also wanted to attract craftsmen and merchants to Athens and offered citizenship for those who settled in Athens with their families. He passed many reforms that improved the Athenian way of life, including restrictions of slavery and relinquishing all Athenian citizens from all forms of slavery. Once he saw how effective his laws were, he left Athens to travel through the East Mediterranean. Unfortunately, in his absence, his systems broke down. Some elected officials refused to relinquish their positions after their one term, and after a time, a relative of Solon called Pisistratus seized power and ruled as a tyrant. After Pisistratus's death, his son Hippias carried on his father's legacy. Hippias heavily taxed the citizens of Athens and executed a large number of them. Eventually, he was overthrown with the help of the Spartan military in 510 BCE, and democracy returned to Athens. Athens was not the only city-state to adopt democracy, but it is the most famous and well understood. Ancient Greece is renowned for many other intellectual developments, including mathematics and philosophy. The origins of Greek mathematics are not known. Although the Minoan and Mycenaean cultures clearly understood this subject, as evidenced through their engineering advancements, They left no records of their mathematical theories or workings. Historians generally believe that the early Babylonian and Egyptian cultures influenced Greek mathematics. Many famous Greek mathematicians, such as Thales of Miletus and Pythagoras of Samos, are believed to have traveled to Babylon and Egypt before expanding on their learned knowledge to create their own theories. While we think of ancient Greece as a singular identity, the people of the time would have thought of themselves primarily through their polis and identified as Athenian, Spartan, Olympian, Corinthian, or any other city-states that lay throughout Greece and beyond. Even though the Greeks had diplomacy and democracy, it did not stop them from warring with each other, forming and breaking allegiances as it suited them. But for a short time during the 300s BCE, Greece was unified against a common enemy and had one ruler. Philip II of Macedon united all the states. However, he did not do this through diplomacy alone. Through war, strategic marriages, and negotiation, he managed to form a league of Greek city-states, with which he hoped to achieve his ultimate goal, conquering the Persian Empire. Unfortunately for Philip, he was poisoned before he could complete his plan. The domination of the Persians would be left to his son, Alexander the Great. Ancient Greece went through many stages, so the story is a long and winding one when it comes to how it started. During the first age, the Golden Age, the races enjoyed perpetual youth, never had to toil, and passed their time feasting and partying. We now know the ancient Greeks referred to this as the time of the Minoans, perhaps inspired by their grand palaces and frescoes depicting lush gardens and goddesses. The second stage was the Silver Age, wherein men started to neglect the gods and were hidden by Zeus inside the earth. The third age was the Bronze Age, inhabited by violent men made by Zeus who perished through mutual destruction. The last age was the Iron Age, in which the ancient Greeks lived, which was the antithesis of the Golden Age. It was characterized by the presence of evil in the world that Pandora had unleashed. It is interesting, then, that the time we see as Greece's peak was when some of its citizens thought of it as the lowest point of Greek history. Rome eventually swallowed up Greece, but not without having a lasting effect on Rome's religion, art, science, and political landscape. To learn more about ancient Greece, check out our book, Ancient Greece, a captivating guide to Greek history, starting from the Greek Dark Ages to the end of antiquity. It's available as an ebook, paperback, and audiobook. Also, grab your free Mythology Bundle ebook while it's still available. All links are in the description. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button and subscribe for more videos like this.